Today, I'm going to talk about what people misunderstand about being an avoidant. And yes, I'm speaking from personal experience. The biggest thing I think people get wrong about avoidance is that they call them evil, they demonize them, they say these really just degrading things towards them because they had a bad experience. And I get it, right? Like, I know what it's like to be frustrated when you go through something like this because I have been the avoidant and I've also dated someone that was an avoidant too. In fact, that was actually the moment in my life that flipped things that made me really understand what it felt like to be on that side. And I got frustrated too. Okay? Like I caught myself in moments of feeling like, why did this person do this to me? I'm upset. They did this to me personally. They were out to get me. But when you really have a moment to think about it, that's not true. As an avoidant, I didn't choose to be this way, and I didn't want this. In fact, a lot of times you suffer internally in a lot more ways than you're able to describe to people and where people see outwardly. I've never in my life met someone that has avoidant tendencies that was just living a healthy, happy, and fulfilled life. Most of the time, something is kind of off within them. A lot of times, this stuff comes from deeply seated trauma from your youth and other things that you had from your upbringing. And before you know it, you're in these habits more as a self-protection mechanism, not as a way to go out there and hurt other people. But people on the receiving end of that oftentimes think that it is out there to hurt them. Years back, and this is when I even heard the term avoidance, when someone had mentioned it to me, I was like, that doesn't sound like me. There's no way. Naturally, I avoided the conversation of even hearing what that was like. Go figure, right? It wasn't until about a year or so after that I was involved with somebody else and I was dating. And this woman that I was dating was an avoidant, but much more so than I was at the time. So I went from being in a relationship in which I was the person doing that to someone else to being the person on the receiving end. And at that moment, it's like the light bulb went off. I found myself finding someone that was absolutely wonderful in every way. I clicked with them in every way. Things were great up front, right? Typical avoidant kind of scheme in there. But what happened was, as things move on and things started to get more serious, more vulnerability, more emotions and things came up, that's when this person started to pull away. And just when I thought things were over, they'd come back. We had this little push-pull method, right? I mean, it's like the same type of thing that you hear across the board, or how people get into dynamics with avoidance. It hurt. It was hard because you see the potential and you see what could happen, and you feel how great the relationship is. But it's just like you can't progress it further past that point. And I think people misunderstand this to think that the person's just messing with their emotions. They're trying to do this to a person, but they're not. I was never trying to do this to someone on purpose myself, but I think what you find is that if you don't address your traumas and things from when you're younger, you're gonna inevitably do this if you have these tendencies. So whether you're an avoidant watching this or you're someone that has been in a relationship with one, I don't think it really matters as much. It's more about just the perspective. When I was growing up, I love my parents to death, but we just didn't say I love you in my household. Emotions, love, talking about stuff were not things that were present in my life. And so growing up, it's like I had no skills to be able to do this with other people. I wanted the connection. I wanted to be able to talk to people. I wanted to be in a relationship, to feel love, to love somebody. But until you step up to that plate, you realize it's like you don't have the tools in your arsenal to be able to do that. And that's what is really difficult about that too. Avoidants are just like everybody else. You want to feel love, you want to feel connection, you want to feel all these things. Like I said, it's like missing the skill set. When you grow up without this, you never practice it, you don't have it at home. And so you get out into the real world and you meet someone else that maybe has come from an upbringing like this, you clash because that person probably has a little bit more skill sets to deal with these things than you. And it feels like for the first time in your life, maybe you're telling someone you love them or you're having these feelings kind of show too. So I think the biggest thing that people misunderstand about avoidance is that it's done on purpose and it's done to hurt you. It's not. If anything else, the person that's avoidant that may be doing this to you probably has very strong feelings for you. They just don't know how to see those through. The only common thing that I hear is that avoidants aren't capable of love, or that it's something that they just don't want in their life and that's just not part of them. But it's not true. I think from an earlier age and such, you really want these all the way into your adulthood. You just don't know how to express it and you don't have the skill set, like I mentioned before. You know what's really interesting and that I don't hear a lot of people talk about is that when you grow up in a household that doesn't have emotions, love, any of this stuff expressed, it's almost like when you're around other people that do openly express these things, it's easy for them to say I love you. They have healthy family structures. It's like you're around them. But if you've ever had an ick about something, and I hate that word ick, but it's just the best thing I can use to kind of give an example here. If you've ever had an ick where something just makes you feel like, ugh, get away from me, I don't want to deal with that. That's what it feels like to be an avoidant that's around someone that shows love. So it's tricky, right? You have this push-pull dynamic, not only with the other person you're with, but within yourself internally. I want love, I love this person, I care about them, I want to show them feelings. But then when you get around and you start getting exactly what you want, you don't have the skill set to deal with that. And so it starts to feel like, ugh, get away from me. Take space, you push them away, and all of a sudden, before you know it, when this other person's starting to move on or when something else is happening, Maybe the avoidant comes back. It's because they want that feeling and that never really left. And you made an impact and you did something to them that actually resonated with them. But every single time those emotions and the love and everything else starts to come back up, they revert back and they pull back because it kind of scares them. It brings back up some of these deeply seated traumas. It sounds really funny to sit there and say that love and affection and emotions and stuff make you feel like you're going through trauma. But for someone that doesn't understand it, it's hard to really explain because that never felt safe to you growing up. When you grow up in a household where people don't express or say any of these things, anytime you say or you show compassion, love, emotions, any of this stuff, vulnerability in your own household, sometimes you were put down, you were berated, you were talked down to, and you were made to be like, anytime you mention this, you're wrong. And so then you start to put this shell around yourself and you don't do it anymore. When you leave the house, you go out to the real world, you interact with people that had healthy upbringings and stuff like this too. You just don't know how to interact with this. And you start to go back to this like subconscious part of you that starts to say, you know what, this doesn't feel safe. Let me pull back and get away from this because this is just not me and I can't handle it. It breaks my heart when I see people in dynamics like this because I think at the time I thought that I was capable of just myself looking at my own situation and be like, okay, well now I understand I'm like this. Let me just move past it and it's all good. But it's never that easy. You know, you think about the certain programming you have grown up in your life that lasts your whole life. Maybe you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s by the time you even realize this. It's very hard to just snap your fingers and all of a sudden be like, well, I've heard this term avoidance and now I can just get a lot better. It takes usually the help of a professional or some other type of coaching within there to get you to a healthy balance so that you can have these habits. So that way you can catch yourself whenever these moments happen in life too. If you are an avoidant, you can understand this, but if you are a person that is dating an avoidant or has been involved with an avoidant, I hope that at least kind of paints the perspective in a different way. If an avoidant is someone that pulls away from you, it keeps coming back, I know it's frustrating. I know it's upsetting. I'm telling you right now that they have feelings for you and you do matter to them. But it's really about the question of like, can they show up in a way that's healthy for you? I do believe that avoidance can change. I've changed. But you have to have that awareness first, and you have to have the willingness to want to change and to be able to seek out that help to make sure that you don't revert back to that old self. With all that being said, I think the number one thing that I see that people misunderstand about avoidance, and it's probably one of the hardest things to accept as well, is that you can't change them. Only they can. I see this all the time. If you go on other videos on YouTube where people are talking about this stuff, look at comment sections, go on Reddit, go on any article online or any other forum. You see people oftentimes that you can tell how much love and care they have for the person that's in their life that maybe they're dating or they're interested in that is an avoidant, but they're often up times asking for help. What can I do? How can I show up better? How can I accommodate more of their schedule, their life, their wants, their needs? I think a lot of us end up doing this. You put way much more time, effort, and energy into something, hoping that one day it'll be enough and it'll change this person. But the hardest reality to really come to terms with and accept is that you can't do that. I'm not a person that's like got this defeatist attitude that thinks that things aren't possible in life. I'm more of a possibility thinker to think of what you can do. But in this scenario, the reason I say that you can't do it is because these are deeply seated traumas and things that come up from this person's life. And you can't do anything to help them address those. The only thing that can address those is if they address them. You can be the most loving, kind, compassionate person. You can do everything you can. You can sacrifice your own wants and needs for the avoidant partner, but at the end of the day, it's not going to change them. The thing that really changed me at the end of the day was losing someone in my life because of my avoidant tendencies that I never thought would leave my life, but she did. I went through a really, really hard time in my life, and it was at the lowest point in my life, and I felt like that's what made me really say, you know what? It motivated me enough to want to go do something different because I hated how I felt then, that it was worth facing those fears and kind of breaking that pattern that I'd been in for so long. I had to enroll myself in therapy and I had to get help, and it took a lot of time. You know, there were moments in therapy even where I thought that I had a breakthrough and everything was good to go, but then you have moments where you come back and you realize, no, I still have some things to work on too. You have to understand that to undo decades of programming in your life, to have a healthy, path moving forward, it's not going to be something you can just go take care of in a week. It's not going to be something where someone can just be nice to you and all of a sudden it's going to undo all of that stuff. The only thing at the end of the day that really fixes that is the self-awareness and the willingness to want to go get help. Now, I'm not saying that every single person in the world that's dating avoidant needs to go break up with them because of this. I'm not saying that. There are people that I've seen in relationships that are willing to get that help while they're in the relationship. But if you're a person that's holding out, hoping that, you're going to keep doing more and more, showing up or saying or doing anything, and one day you're going to wake up and this person's just going to be doing and giving you the things that you want, I'm telling you that you're hurting yourself in this process. The decision has to be yours as to what to do, whether that is to stay with this person and give them some more time if you see some progress and their willingness to want to change, or if you have to understand that maybe it's time for you to step back and just take time for yourself so that you can give that time back to yourself, be happy and healthy for you, and maybe see if that person comes back in a way that means something too. even having hard conversations about this and trying to push someone into therapy usually doesn't go very well because they don't want to see it, and I didn't want to see it at the time too. So at the end of the day, I can't make a decision for you. You have to make that decision for yourself too. I care about people that are avoidant. I care about people that are anxious. I care about people that are somewhere in between or anything else like that too. All of us have to make these decisions as to what is best for us, not what maybe someone else may tell you to do for your life. So I'm not going to tell you what to do for your life. I'm just going to give you the tools and things that hopefully you can make a decision that will put you in a position for you to feel happy too. Your happiness matters just like the avoidant does. I wish we could all just be happy, healthy, having great relationships and no one ever have problems, but that's just not the way that life works. So making these decisions is not easy, but sometimes that's exactly what you need to find that peace that you've been looking for so long. So I wish you all the best. I hope this video helped. If you have any questions or anything specifically, or if you wanted me to make anything else similar to this in the future, feel free to go and let me know in the comments. And I'll go ahead and see if I can kind of get creative with what I can do for these things too. As I've mentioned in other videos, I'm still kind of figuring out how this channel is going, and I'm just kind of trying different things out too. I like a lot of introspection and talking about things geared towards emotional intelligence. Yes, I do have some emotional intelligence despite being an avoidant, you know. I know that may kind of sound kind of contradictory, but it's there possible. But stuff that I like to do, especially because it helps kind of heal some of the inner parts of me while hopefully helping some other people out there too. In any case, thanks for rocking with me. Appreciate you watching this. Take care. Have a great day. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.